crafting journey here, that journey chick on Instagram. How are you today? It's Tuesday. And some of you will know what I'm talking about with this next statement. Some of you won't. But today, well, actually yesterday, the Joint Commission showed up at my job. Now, for the few of you who know what I'm talking about, this is going to be like hell day. Yesterday, what it is the Joint Commission is an accrediting body, national, comes in, they review your hospital. If you're not up to par, you're at risk for losing your Medicare and Medicaid licenses. It's a big deal. So, little angst over it. Didn't get any sleep last night. Maybe 3 hours sleep. 3 hours of very. I forgot to take my sleeping medication, so my brain never shut off. But I think I slept for 3 hours. I'm anticipating it. I know that there's gonna be angst. There always is. I always feel like, oh God, this is it. I'm gonna lose my job. I'm just gonna breathe, try to get through the next couple of days, and then we'll be okay. So last night I was on Planner Monday, which is on Crystal Creelan's channel, Crystal's Crafty Creations. I will put the link to that video here. If you're at all interested in learning how to do a planner, there was a lot of us in and out, a lot of suggestions from how to do it very inexpensively if you're just starting out to, all the way up to the elite, like Erin Condren journaling, that kind of thing. I have a happy planner. Now, my issue is I don't use it as frequently as I should. And when I first started it, my goal was to write down all of my, all of the national days and this day in history. So next year, I don't repeat the same thing. Now, some days I do write it down, some days I don't. So I'm trying to get better at that. So I thought if I have it here while I'm got the show going, I have no excuse not to write it down. So here is this week's pages for the journal. Yesterday was a pretty big deal. I had my daughter's birthday, J. Rob's birthday. I set some goals for myself because yesterday was all or nothing day. And I thought, all or nothing. I want to take these trips. I'm going to do it. One to Denver in November and sometime early next year to Alaska. North to Alaska. Yes. I want to go see Alaska. I want to see the Northern Lights. I want to see what the men are about. I want to see what the cost of living is, Okay, I'm going to leave this kind of, open to the page, and we'll just kind of put it up here in the corner. So, yesterday was kind of I had a doctor's appointment at 4 o'clock, so I cut off work early, went to the doctor's appointment. As I'm coming out of the doctor's office, I see that my friend Jennifer, DP Addiction Adventures, has a video up. And I have been talking to her for the last couple of days, so I know the struggle that she's going through. So and there's a storm brewing outside, and I did not want to drive in the storm. And directly across the street from my doctor's office, I think it's why I don't change doctors, because it's in the next town over, and I could change to a closer doctor, but I happen to like this doctor. Plus, she's right across the street from Hobby Lobby, so I go to the Hobby Lobby, park in the parking lot, and sit and watch Jennifer's video through the storm. And thank God I had some tissue with me in the car, because it's a tearjerker, to say the least. She will be fasting today. She's she is a Christian, and her belief is that by fasting, it uh, it, it it will help her to focus on prayer. And at this point, all she can do is pray. There's really no other recourse for what's going on in her life but to pray. So, if you know Jennifer and you're religious and you believe in fasting and prayer, please, if you want to help her out and do it with her, go for it. I just ate a Pop-Tart. I'm sorry. I'm not religious. I believe in God, but there's other beliefs that I don't subscribe to. But I do believe in God, and I have been praying to God. So, okay, enough about that. So let's diamond paint, shall we? Oh, yes, I've been during the day, I've been setting up my work in here and diamond painting and working at the same time. And then I realized yesterday that this corner over here was uncovered. It's just a little square, and I still see that I got some paper on it. So I took a little wet cloth, and the paper comes off and it's sticky again. Once it dries, it's still sticky. So I put this back over it. Oh, my mistake. So before I set anything down over here, I'm going to make sure it's all covered. Now I had some diamonds in a tray from last week. Let's see if I was done with. I think I was probably done with these. I was. So let's put them away and get out another thing. Oh, so see, while I'm watching Jennifer's video, I mean, it is storming. The rain is just pouring. I mean, the skies just opened up, and so her video was probably 20 minutes long or so. So, and then afterwards I called Crystal, and we chit-chatted and about the planner live that she was going to host for the evening. And by then the rain kind of subsided. Where's the one? I need this one here. So I went into Hobby Lobby, and now I'm I am an ugly crier. And my face is all red, and I'm blowing my nose. But and I didn't know exactly. I do know exactly what I was looking for. I was hoping they would have a Q-snap. I had a Q-snap. I have a bigger Q-snap, but I wanted a smaller one. I have a smaller one. I just don't know what I've done with it. Can't find it. Now, I figure I'll buy one, and it'll show up. But they didn't have any in Hobby Lobby, so I ordered one off of Etsy, and it wasn't too expensive. $11, I think, something like that. But here's what I bought. I went into the cross stitch area, and they have these. You can buy this little thing. It kind of looks like a book. So you get these two flat pieces, and these two pieces come with the two rings, and in between you can put what I thought I would do, because I have boxes of floss. I will put the individual floss for the project that I'm working on between the two book in the book, so that I can just take this and work on my project and not the whole box of stuff, because I have kittens I have to be aware of. So this particular floss I purchased because this weekend we're starting the Hocus Pocus I Need Coffee to Focus, and it has some spider webbing in it. So I thought this this kind of silvery orange, I don't know if you can really see it that well, would be cool for the spider web. And then I saw this variegated, it's a satin thread, it's variegated, and I really fell in love with the colors in it. I don't know when I'm going to ever use it. So these two are obviously not part of the project that I'm working on. And I realized as I'm doing this that one of the skeins of thread is missing. So I think it must have fallen out of the little bag I was working with, and the kittens have done something, run off with it or something. I don't know. It's a purple color, and I don't know what I've done with it. So what I also did was I put in here like my small pair of scissors. I put my needles and my thread, thing. I have little things to thread the needles with. And then here is the floss for the particular project that I was working on during the 24 hours of cross stitch. And then because this was just white, I put some stickers on it. Let me see if you can see the stickers. I put some roses on here, little washi tape, and I said purpose fuels passion. That's what this says. And then on the back, I put a rose, and there's a saying on the back that says, "Don't stop until you're proud." And that goes with this project here. So I thought this was really cute. So this, these two pieces with the rings was $2.99. A package of 36 of these bags was $3.99, and I bought 2 packages, which is all I had, because I've got some projects coming up, and I thought that was really cool. And it's so much easier than bobbinating things. And you can, if you have bobbins, you can put those in here. You don't have to use the bags. You can put the bobbins in here if they have the ring in it. You have to get the bobbins that have the ring in it, or the holes punched. So, coffee, hocus pocus. I need coffee to focus. All right, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. What goes here? 823, which is this one right here. Or we might do some of that too. I'm being very ambitious today, aren't I? For somebody who hasn't had much sleep. And I don't know if this will be like one of those days where I can nap. I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to need from me for this survey, so to speak. Tweezers, where's my tweezers? This is what's happened. This is what happens when you put everything away. Okay. We are ready to diamond paint. Do, 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 do. I don't think there's many of this. Nope, nope, nope. Alright, so what national day is it? It is National First I have to unlock the iPod. It is National Love is Kind Day. Now this has all kinds of meaning, but at the end, after I talk about it for a little bit, we're going to talk about the Love is Kind pledge. So let me go back to, and I'm going to try to put that pledge up here on the screen so you can see it. Let's talk about that day though. So this is a day that we celebrate survivors of a domestic violence, domestic abuse, and their freedom and independence from their abuser. But it's also a day to recognize, other sorts of abuse, bullying, harassment, just generally not being kind to one another. So, you have the right to be treated with kindness, and to be kind to yourself. So you need to realize that kindness is the path to healthy and safer relationships with your family, with your friends, with your subscribers. I try to be kind. I really do. There have been times in the past 2 years of me on YouTube where other YouTubers have not been kind to me. But I recognize that by me acknowledging their unkindness and talking about it and being sort of vindictive is just not the way to go. So I chose to not talk about it as a form of kindness to myself, you know. Just remember that love is not abusive, it's not humiliating, it's not dehumanizing. If someone uses love as an excuse for their hurtful behavior, it's not real love. So, with every generation, the cycle of abuse continues to cripple families, especially women and children who are most vulnerable. The cycle of abuse must stop now. So National Love is Kind Day encourages you to become aware of how you're treating people and how people are treating you, and how you can become emboldened, supported, and empowered to lead a joyful and productive life. With improved and proper support, families can know and experience the freedom and love found in an abuse-free home. Children grow up with positive role models, and both adults and children lead more productive lives. Happy, and they are mentally healthy. Now, my children grew up in an abuse-free home. Other than the occasional, my husband was 6'3", so he was scary. Like if he would yell, the kids would be like, you know, but he wasn't beating them. He wasn't hurting them at all, you know, but all he had to do was like give them a look, you know, and they'd be like, so there was no abuse. And I have to say, in the 18 years that I was married to him, no abuse. Never verbal, never physical, nothing, you know. The marriage broke up because we married when we were children. You know, I was 19. I wasn't grown yet. I wasn't fully mature. Neither was he. And we grew apart. You know, our lives went in different directions, and that ended that marriage. But thankfully, no abuse, and thankfully, I have two wonderfully well-adjusted children as a result. And their families are free from abuse and just full of love and kindness. I mean, you know, even though the grandchildren are teenagers now, you know, when they see me, the few times they see me that they're around, you know, they just hug on me and love on me, and it's so special. So, but this is a day, it's an opportunity to say no to abuse and violence and ridicule. If someone is ridiculing you, say no. And don't respond in kind. Like don't if someone's ridiculing you, don't ridicule them back. It's just a vicious cycle. If they're ridiculing you, say, you know, no, this is not something I have to live with, and you walk away from that person. And I've done that in the past. I was being ridiculed, and I walked away from that person. And I'm a better person for it. I showed kindness to myself by walking away. Now, there have been times in the past where I did not walk away. You know, hi, honey. Hello. She just ate her breakfast, so she's, you know, ready to go out. You need to go out. Come on. We're going to be kind and take her out. Oh my goodness. Hi, kitties. Hi, kitties. Come kittens to get out. Well, the kittens are back here playing. One is in my suitcase. I have a suitcase that they take back and forth to work. So if someone is ridiculing you or being verbally abusive to you, try to be kind back to them. Don't respond the way they've treated you. Treat them with kindness. And that's my speech for today. So I'm going to write that in my journal. Love is Kind Day. See? I'm doing this. Love is Kind Day. Now, if you would like me to send you the pledge, I can email it to you. But here is what the pledge says. Oh, where'd it go? Where did it go? Oh my goodness. All right. I am worthy. I deserve to be treated with kindness. I am lovable. I am enough. I have the right to live my life on my own terms. I deserve to be heard, and what I have to say is important. I have the right to be my true and authentic self. I take good care of myself so that I can help others and show up more fully. I have the right to honor myself and my boundaries. I deserve to be surrounded by kind, loving, and supportive people. My life matters. I have the right to create a joyful, productive, and prosperous life. I took that pledge, and it's important to me. If you want to take that pledge, let me know. I can send it to you, the pledge. All you have to do is put your name and your email into the pledge, and they will send you the poem. And you can post it somewhere so that you can read it to yourself every now and then, right? So today we are starting a new trial on judge, jury, and journey. Whoop, doo, 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 doo. Okay. This is the Uber trial. It is actually going on right now. It is live right now on Court TV. They're in day 6, I think. So we're going to do our best to kind of catch up. I really wanted to finish the other trial. Oh, I guess you would like to know how the other trial turned out first. All right. The trial of Joshua Aid. He was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of murder. The attempted murder of his ex-girlfriend, Rebecca, who he just could not accept that she was breaking up with him. He just couldn't accept it. Wouldn't accept it. The murder of her father and the attempted murder of a friend of her father's who was there helping out as using his mechanic skills. They were in the garage. They were fixing a radiator on a vehicle that was owned by Joshua and Rebecca. She was going to return the vehicle to him that weekend. He shows up and shoots the 3 of them in the head. 2 of them survive. So we know that his version of the events is that when he showed up, he was ambushed. He was lured there and ambushed. And he feared for his life, so he shot them all. But he fled from the scene, picked up a 6-pack of beer, and drove home. Okay. Jury deliberated. They reached a unanimous verdict of guilty on all counts. Guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of murder. Now, the sentencing was scheduled for July 21st, but it did not happen on July 21st that I'm aware of, because the Long Crime Network did not cover it. So I imagined it got postponed for some reason or another. It's not unusual for that to happen. And I'm sure that when it does happen, the Long Crime Network will cover it, and I can bring you the sentencing. I can tell you what you know, I can tell you what the sentence is going to be: life in prison without the possibility of parole. He's never going to see the light of day again, I don't think. Sad. This is a guy who just, he had a good career, an engineer in the medical field, and, a veteran of the Marine Reserves. He'd served, our country in Iraq and Afghanistan, and just could not accept that this woman did not want to be with him anymore, and just went off as rocker, and now he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, and Tootsie wants back in the door. Come on. Oh, it's going to rain. All right, so let's start the new trial. This is the Uber trial. So we're just going to say Uber trial. Uber trial. So we have opening statements in the Uber trial. The individual that is on trial, his name is, let me find it here. Nathaniel Rowland. He has been charged with murder, kidnapping, and possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. Now, this takes place in South Carolina. The woman's name was, the victim, her name was Samantha. She went to this University of South Carolina, or some South Carolina college, and I apologize for not knowing what the name of the college is. She was out for a night of celebration. She still had a semester to go, but a lot of her fellow students, cohorts had just graduated. So she lived in a dorm that was not far from where the crime takes place, but far enough that you wouldn't want to walk. So it was her and her roommate's usual practice of taking an Uber over to an area that they called 5 Points, which I assume is an area where it's full of bars and college students. So that they were there at 5 Points one night celebrating this graduation. Her roommates were there. They saw her there. They were all doing their own little thing. They were in one particular bar. She, at some point, decides she is going to leave the bar. She calls for an Uber. She orders an Uber. Meanwhile, there is a 2017 black Chevy Impala that's been circling around the block. And the evidence is going to show surveillance of this car circling the block and then pulling into a parking space. When the car pulls into the parking space, we're going to see video footage of Samantha getting into this vehicle thinking that it is her Uber. And I have to tell you, this started a huge national movement. It's called #What'sMyName. And what that advocates is, if you ever feel the need to use an Uber, before you get into the vehicle, you should ask the driver, what's my name? Because if you've ordered the Uber, the driver should know your name. If he doesn't know your name, don't get into that car. So she gets into that car and she's never seen again. Her body is found the next day in a wooded area. So, the evidence is going to show cell phone tracking. Um, it's going to show that the defendant attempted to use her debit card 9 times unsuccessfully. We're going to hear from the medical examiner who will say that she suffered over 100 stab wounds. And the theme for the prosecution's opening was Occam's razor. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Occam's razor, but what it says is sometimes the simplest explanation makes the most sense, or it's the best explanation. So, and the defense got up and said the evidence is going to support that, this woman obviously fought for her life. She was stabbed over 100 times. So she was clearly fighting for her life. But they did not find any scratches or bruises or anything on the defendant when he was apprehended. The evidence will show there was no DNA from her body found on him. There was no DNA from him found on her. There was no DNA from him on the steering wheel in the car. So his defense is that it was my car. I wasn't driving. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Isn't that a song? It wasn't me. I don't know. So, interesting. Very interesting, because in the surveillance footage that we're going to see, you cannot see who the driver is. It's too dark. And he is a black man. So you cannot make out who the driver is. So we don't know. So is that going to be reasonable doubt in this case? I don't know. So I did listen to a couple of the first couple of witnesses. The first witness is her boyfriend, Samantha's boyfriend. They met in 2017. His name is Greg. He had already graduated and moved. He was living in Columbia. Wait a minute, let me get this right, because I'm not a South Carolina native here. I've been to South Carolina. Okay, no. Columbia is where the college is and where the crime occurs. He was living in Charleston. Okay, so got it. Because they had met in college. They've been together for a couple of years since 2017. They became a couple. She had already been accepted into law school in Philadelphia, full scholarship. So he was going to move to Philadelphia with her once she graduated. I think she still had a semester left. And he was going to find a job up there in his field, and they were going to live together. So that night, they were texting back and forth, and he knew that she was out with her roommates. And he, at one point, he goes to the gym, and she keeps asking him, I really want to see you. Can't you come down here this weekend? And he said no. He really did not want to drive down there. I don't know how long. I don't know what the distance is. But he really didn't want to drive there because she was supposed to be coming up there a few days later to visit with him and his family. So he just didn't feel like going there that night. At 2:04 a.m., she texts him and she tells him that she had called an Uber. She was going back to the dorm. Then he doesn't hear from her again. Doesn't hear anything. So he uses this app. It's called Find My Friend. Now, I've heard of this. One of the girls at work uses it to track her children. So if you have friends or family that you want to enter into this app, it will show you where they are at all times. So he looks on his Find My Friend app to see if she got home safely, and he sees that she's going in a different direction from her. When you leave the 5 points, she should have been going this way. He sees that she's going south, that she's going in a different direction than home. So he texts her at 2:30. This is just 26 minutes later. He texts her, no response. And at 2:40 a.m., he calls her. She doesn't answer. So then he's thinking, well, I guess maybe she left her phone in the Uber. It happens. So she called the roommates, and the roommates say, no, she's not home. She hasn't made it home yet. So now he's worried. And he's continuing to text her and try to find her. He fell asleep around 5 o'clock in the morning. He woke up around 11. Still, there was nothing from her, no texts, no phone calls. He calls her roommates. They haven't heard from her either. So he gets in his car and he drives to Columbia. He goes to where the roommates are. They all decide that, they call the police. Well, they don't call the police right away. First, they decide they're going to go looking for her themselves, because they thought that because she's an adult, she'd have to be missing for 24 hours before they could report it. Unfortunately, that was wrong, because she's a college student. If they could have called right away. But they didn't know that. So they're looking for her themselves. And where they were looking was where he last saw her on the Find My Friend app, in the location where he last sees her. So they're driving around. It's not such a great neighborhood. They're knocking on doors. They don't, and they just, there's nothing. They don't see anything where she could be or would have been or would have gone. Doesn't know anybody in that area. So finally they go back to the dorm where all these people live, and they do call the police. And the police says, no, she doesn't have to be gone 24 hours. We're going to take a report and we're going to look for her. So he gives them all the information, where she was last seen on the app. And they take him down to the police station to give statements. Now, by now, Samantha's parents are now there as well. They're at the police station too. So this young man is being questioned by the police, and at one point he's taken out of the interview room to where the parents are. He can see that they're like distraught. They sit him down and they explain to him and the parents that they have found her body and she's deceased. Needless to say, the defense chose not to cross-examine this man. There was no point, what are they really going to discredit him? This was his girlfriend. He had nothing to do with his death. He wasn't even in the same town. Super sad, super sad. So the next witness that they put on is one of the roommates. She said that they both had entered college together. They had gone to high school together. They were good friends. One of the things that she was able to do to assist law enforcement was she was able to get into Samantha's computer, and it showed that the Uber had been canceled. Which means it probably showed up and she never, she wasn't there to get the ride, so they canceled it. Interesting. So that is where we're going to leave off for more testimony. Yes. What is this doing here? I've got a random drill. This happens every now and then. You just get a random drill. So, this day in history. Let's find this day in history. And we're going to write it in our journal. Yes, we are. Because we don't want to forget. Okay. Oh, okay. This day in history. Oh, I remember this well. July 27th, 1981, in Hollywood, Florida. I was living in Hollywood, Florida with my husband and my 2 children. He was a Hollywood police officer. So he also knows this case very well. This was the day that Adam Walsh is abducted. 6 years old. They had gone to the Sears at the mall. And the mall is right across the street from the police station, which is kind of interesting. They go into the Sears, Mom goes into the Sears store with Adam. He sees a group of older boys, they're playing video games. So she says, he says, Mom, I want to watch. So she leaves him there to watch the boys play video games, and she goes shopping. She's shopping in the Sears store. She's gone less than 10 minutes. She goes back to where she left him. He's gone. A teenage security guard had run the boys off. It was kind of like a ruckus going on with the boys playing the video game, and he's like, no, you're out of here. So they believe that Adam followed those boys out. Instead of telling the security guard, hey, my mom's in the store, he just follows the teenage boys out the door, and it's believed that he was abducted at that point. I remember this so well because, people were so scared to let go of their kids or even take them with them to go shopping. I held on to mine and my son liked to go. How they would have those circular racks of clothes? My son liked to hide in the racks, and I'd be like, don't do this to me, because, I'd look and he'd be gone, and I'd be like, where are you? He'd be hiding in the rack, But, people were just like clinging to their children because we didn't know. They didn't catch the guy. Never caught the guy. There was a gentleman, there was a guy in prison who, on death row for another murder, who confessed to the murder. They found, probably about 3 weeks later, they found Adam Walsh's head in a body of water up in Vero Beach, which is way north of Hollywood. More than 100 miles north of Hollywood. Never found his body. Now there was, at the time of his abduction, Jeffrey Dahmer was living in that area. Like, who knew? I was living in the same town as Jeffrey Dahmer. So they don't know if he had anything to do with it. Over the years, this man in prison, he'd admit to killing Adam, then he would recant his story, then he would admit it, then he would recant it over and over again. He's dead now. He died in prison. But the Hollywood police finally closed the case, saying that they did have enough evidence to support that he was the killer of Adam Walsh. His name was Toole, Toole, Otis Toole. And I just remember those so well because as parents, we were just so terrified of our children, losing our children. Wow, during that time, I remember that Sears so well. I really do. And so the father, John Walsh, went on to become very noted. He stars in the, Crime Stopper? What is that show he has? You guys know the show. America's Most Wanted. I don't watch it. I've seen it, but that show has been going on for years. It started in 1988. He's the host of the show. It continues today. And it says that he has helped track down, many, many fugitives through that show. And then George W. Bush, in 2006, which was 25 years after Adam went missing, signed into law the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act, which created a national database for convicted child sex offenders and strengthened federal penalties for crimes against children, providing funding and training for law enforcement to fight crimes involving the sexual exploitation of children via the internet, which has nothing to do with him being abducted from Sears, but that's okay. Something good came out of it. Lots of good came out of it. But I just remember how devastated that woman was. Devastated. Yeah. So this has been a very long show. I do apologize. My goodness. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen, if you enjoy this show, please share it with a friend. Down below, there's an option where you can click share. And when you click share, there's several other options. One is copy. You can copy it, the link, and send it to your friend, or you can share directly to your friend. But share it and let them know, hey, this is a good show to watch while you're crafting, crocheting, coloring, loom knitting, diamond painting, whatever it is you like to do. You can listen to a little true crime. All right, that's my spiel. Also, if you want to become a member of the channel, there's 2 links down below. One is Patreon, one is channel membership. Either one is okay. It goes to help support the contents of the channel. And I love you all for the support that you do give me. So, that's the show for today. Yes, Joshua A. guilty on all charges. So, love you all. Bye.